And we're back on Meet the Leaders from the state capitol, and we are pleased to welcome from the 114th District Representative Themis Klarides. And we should say that Themis has been very active and dealing with this last 3 weeks of the session admirably. You're wearing it well. I don't know how, but you are in spite of everything. And this has been the greatest number of late night sessions you've dealt with, is that right?
Yes, especially late night sessions in a row. I mean, a lot of times we'll have, one late night, say at 4 or 5 in the morning, and then we won't have one again for another month. But this year we've had a couple in a row. But a little tough.
But to get the budget done before the 12th hour, kind of amazing. That hasn't been done before either in a long time.
We've done it. It's just sometimes we come back for the implementers. We may get to the budget, we don't get the implementers. And I remember a few years back we did the budget. We did our budget maybe at 11:45 at night on the last night, and we came back for the implementers. 3 or 4 years back, we didn't get a budget till August 30th. That was probably the longest that I've had.
Well, now, as you take a look at what's been accomplished, we should say, of course, Themis is a Republican, and as such is in the minority on a great many issues that go along here. What have you felt that you've been able to accomplish positively from your standpoint? Because I know there are a number of things that you're not that happy with, including the budget.
Well, I mean, this year has been a very interesting year in the sense that it's been different, to me at least, and I think to most of my colleagues, than my past 14 years, because we had the tragedy in Newtown in December, and therefore once we started session the 1st of January, everything was consumed by figuring out how we were going to craft a gun bill that made people happy, that made the anti-gun people satisfied that we were doing enough, and made the pro-gun people satisfied we weren't doing too much, which has proven to be probably one of the most difficult things we've done in at least my 14 years.
Do you see any of these court cases having validity and causing any consternation in terms of the bill that was passed on gun control?
Well, I certainly think that they have validity. I mean, I don't know what the ultimate outcome will be because, we never really know how the court will decide on matters, but they're certainly standing and they're certainly plausible in their arguments.
I know needless to say, you're not happy with the increase in the budget going forward, but you did get cuts from what had been possibly a 10% raise over the 2 years down to 6 or 7%. So I'd say that was more than a little victory for your side in that one, no?
Certainly, but when you have when you're just coming off the largest tax increase in the state of Connecticut's history, and when you're facing a multi-billion-dollar deficit in the next biennium, any increase in spending really is not warranted, and it's one of those things that year after year we sit there and we look at it, we say, in your home, if you had a decrease in income, your spending would never increase. I mean, that would never be something you would do in your home, and if you did it in your home, that's a recipe for disaster. And unfortunately, that's where we've ended up in Connecticut throughout all this time. We're between 45th and 50th in business unfriendly states. We are between 45th and 50th in states that are run badly and economically inefficient. Any standing and any survey you can look at, most nonpartisan, we are between 45 and 50.
You were not a fan of the undocumented alien licensure bill. What was your cry on that?
Well, the bigger issue there was certainly something we need to discuss. We need to discuss seriously. It's not a 1-month discussion or a 3-week discussion. There are people in this country that are driving, there's no question about it, that are not citizens. Okay? Now the question is, do we want to do something about it? Do we want to make people that will be driving anyway have insurance, have a license? But we don't know the answers to all those things unless we put a study together and figure it out. And we weren't asking to do it 2 years from now. We were saying, let's put a study together from now until the end of the year, and when session begins again in February of next year, we will have the numbers, the statistics, and the information we need. I mean, we time after time, we pass bills without enough knowledge. And we all know the more knowledge, the better.
It wasn't the concept, it was the timing
to some
and the
people
rush.
It was the concept, and I certainly had an issue with the concept.
Yep.
But I didn't preclude some very narrowly defined circumstance in which it might be workable. But I didn't know what that was until we had an extensive study as to what it was. And they didn't want this to be implemented till the end of 2015. So this wouldn't have changed that. You know, and it's the structure of doing things in the dark of night, calling budgets at 12:30 in the morning, calling the illegal driving license bill at 10:30 at night. These things, when people are half asleep, you know, without having the proper information. That's now people in this state who vote for us expect us to run government.
We got at least one more of those before you call it a session. Thank you so much for visiting with us. Always a pleasure to see you. It's Themis Klarides of 114th District. Our guest on this edition of Meet the Leaders. There is more coming up in the waning hours of this session. Stay with us.